You gotta understand, these fish are quite literally out on the reefs grazing like tangs, like specifically in angels. Like they swim constantly, and they're going to be constantly feeding on the rocks and coral and algae all throughout the reef. So they're constantly on the move. They're constantly eating. So you got to just keep that in mind. And if you're not able to acquire that and like take care of those requirements, then I would recommend like staying away from these until you get a bigger aquarium.
What's up, reef fanatics? Welcome to another episode of the Coral Reef Talk podcast. And today, Levi Peterson and I were talking all about angelfish.
Yes, we are.
So reef safe angelfish, not so reef safe angelfish, just everything angelfish today. Levi, how are you doing?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. The reef tank is looking the best that it's ever looked. So
awesome.
Doing a little bit more water changes on there, keeping up with the maintenance. And of course, when you do stuff like that, your tank's going to look nice.
Awesome.
So what about you and your projects and your tanks?
They're going all right. Having a few issues here and there, but we're getting through them.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Always something to do in the aquarium hobby. Always something to diagnose, troubleshoot, fix, put together.
Absolutely.
But today is an exciting podcast because you are going to be leading us through some angelfish for our saltwater aquarium, and you brought some really cool angelfish to the table. So let's go ahead and jump right into it and see what we got.
Absolutely. So yeah, starting off, this is probably one of the more common angels you're going to see in the hobby, and it's just super basic, but it's also relatively cheap, making it like a beginner angelfish that most people end up actually purchasing. That's going to be the pygmy angel or the cherub angelfish. They don't get past a few inches. I've seen them like max size, probably 3 inches. But relatively, or most of the time they stay relatively small. They don't get very big whatsoever. Super cool. They're relatively cheap. These ones specifically, I would say reef safe with caution. You know, I've kept them in my Caribbean tank. No issues whatsoever. No problems. And they did great. They stay small, so you can keep them in smaller aquariums. I definitely recommend at least probably like a 50-gallon or bigger.
Okay.
They do like to swim. But yeah, I'd definitely be careful if you're putting them in an established reef with a bunch of corals, because I mean, you never know. And this one specifically is hit or miss when it comes to reef safe.
Yeah. These are ones that you might see in a small display in your local fish store. I've seen them at Tampa Marine Warehouse. They had them on display. But yeah, like you said, they're like semi-aggressive. And I agree with that. Reef safe with caution for sure. They're omnivore. So they're going to eat meaty foods. They're going to eat algae. They could get a taste for a coral and just go after them. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, the color is super cool. Blue and yellow.
Yeah, good color. I love them. So.
And it's and they don't get too big, like you were saying.
No, they stay small. So, I mean, and if you're looking for something different right here, we have the Fisher's Angel. It's in the same exact genus as that angelfish we were just looking at, just a different color. This one comes out of the Indo-Pacific. It's got like more like a mandarin orange type face, and it kind of dulls out towards the back, blackens up a little bit, and then it ends with a white tail. So if you're looking for something a little different, this is going to run you a little bit more expensive because obviously it's imported from the Indo-Pacific, which is farther than, you know, like your Florida Keys or Southern Caribbean. But yeah, it's a different angelfish. It's cool. It's unique. You don't see these as much as like I'd like to see them in the hobby. You used to see them a lot more back in the day. I feel like it's like when I got in the hobby a few years ago, I tended to see them more often.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen them in a while. But yeah, there's something a little bit different, different coloration. If you're looking for something not super common.
Yeah, and this is another one that you would want to keep in, 50-gallon or more?
Yep, 50-gallon or more. And I mean, like, same with the cherub angel that we were just looking at. Reef safe with caution, you know, because, I mean, you never know with this species and genus. They could be fine, and they couldn't be fine. I mean, you just don't know. So it's always a risk.
Yeah. And now the next one that you have up is pretty cool. I always like the yellow fish, especially this
Yes.
angelfish right here. Tell us more
Yeah,
about
so
the lemon.
this is the lemon peel angel. They come out of the Indo-Pacific,
Mhm.
all over the place. I mean, they're relatively common. You get them in from like Fiji, a couple other random islands out in there, Marshall Islands. But yeah, bright yellow color making them very popular in the hobby. They're not too expensive. They're up there, but they're not like they're
Yeah.
not going to break your bank, in my opinion.
Is it like
Um,
around $50 or
50, 60, right in that range. Some stores
okay.
may run a little higher. It depends. Online websites probably are going to be a little higher.
Mhm.
Yeah, this one specifically, every experience I've had, and my dad actually used to have one. They eat coral. They shred your zoas, and they just tend to eat. Especially once they got a taste for them, it just would not leave them alone.
Mm.
So I've heard mixed experiences with these guys when it comes to Reef Safe. So yeah, just keep that in mind if you're planning on adding one to your tank. But yeah, they are omnivores, like Joey said earlier. All angelfish are omnivores. They're going to eat algae, and they're going to eat regular meaty foods and pellets like you normally would feed. And I mean, there's a saying that's out there, like, the more you feed your fish, the less chance they have of eating coral. And I mean, I agree with that to a certain extent, other than the fact that, if they're not getting fed, like they constantly graze. People don't understand this. They're constantly picking at your rock. They're constantly eating. I mean, all it takes is for them to pick at a coral and realize, oh, that tastes good. Like, why not just keep eating it? So you just got to keep that in mind. Almost every angelfish on here is going to be reef safe with caution. So you just got to keep that in the back of your head. It's always a risk adding one of these to your tank.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll also jump in and say, if you're keeping clams too,
Yes,
you
yes,
want to watch out for clams because they'll definitely nip at the mantles
absolutely.
as
Yeah,
well.
thanks for saying that. I almost forgot.
So yeah, but super unique, nice coloration, lemon peel angel. I like that. And you want to keep these in a little bit larger of a tank,
I'd say
uh,
probably 75.
70 or more. Yeah, 75 or more
Yeah,
would be a good size.
for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then this next angelfish is quite literally probably the most common angelfish you're going to see in the hobby.
Yes.
Almost every single fish store is going to have a multitude of these. I mean, this is just the most common angelfish you just see. The coral beauty. It's
Yeah.
a relatively cheap fish. Like the other lemon peel and even the smaller pygmies, it's reef safe with caution. It's got a beautiful color, and I mean, if you are willing to maybe risk like throwing it in a reef tank, I mean, this might be the one. It's a little bit cheaper than investing in something that if it does eat your corals and you have to get rid of it, you're losing all that money. This is not going to cost you an arm and a leg to risk. But it's always a risk. Just keep that in mind. I've seen people with lemon peels in their tank, in a reef tank, no problem. I've seen people with
Hmm.
coral babies, no problem. But I've also seen people that have them and have a bunch of issues. So, I mean, it's literally hit or miss depending on the specimen. So, just keep that in mind. But yeah, coral beauties, they're relatively cheap, they're pretty, and I mean, it's a good beginner angelfish, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And when I was first getting into the hobby, this was one that first caught my attention.
Yeah.
Just the color, like the way it looks with the oranges and the blue,
Mm-hmm.
and the pattern of this fish is very beautiful. Hence the name Coral Beauty.
Yep.
But everyone would say reef safe with caution. And at the time, being a beginner, I was like, I don't know if I want to try that. I don't want my
Yeah, for
corals
sure.
getting nipped.
Yep.
But yeah, this is a dwarf angelfish, so they're not
Yep.
going to get much
Yeah, they're going to
bigger
stay
than
relatively small.
yeah, they're not going to get much bigger than like 4 inches or something,
Yep.
4.5 inches. But this is another one, like the previous one, that is what, 75 gallons or more?
Yep. 75 gallons.
Yeah. Very cool. So, hope everyone's enjoying these angelfish, and we got a special one here for the scientific segment. Are you ready to jump into
Let's
that?
do it. Let's do it.
Awesome.
So this is an angelfish that's coming out of it hasn't really made its way in the hobby quite at all, hardly at all. This is the Takuchi angelfish, or Genocanthus takuchi. Comes from Japan area and a little bit south of that. It's a very, very pretty angelfish, and it's hardly ever seen or even filmed in the wild. It's hard to find pictures of them. They're such a beautiful fish. They are relatively colder water because they're coming from the waters of Japan, but just look at the sheer beauty. So the bigger one on the left picture here, if you're looking straight at the screen, is actually a male. And if you look to the right, the juveniles and females are going to keep that really it's, I don't even know how to explain it. It's almost like a honeycomb, like striping, and it's beautiful, beautiful fish. And the Genacanthus species is the actual reef safe angelfish. So
Yes,
the whole genus of Genacanthus, you're good. Like people keep them in the reef tanks, no problem. That's the number one genus you're gonna want to, if you can get your hands on one for a good price. That's what you want to do if you're going for a reef safe angelfish. This is probably one of the prettiest Genacanthus species there is. I mean, it's super cool, but like I said, it's like hardly ever seen in the hobby, if at all. So it's just super cool and super different. Something different to look at.
What is the recommended like tank size for keeping this? Like if you say it's not in the hobby as much, but
so like for this
keep
genus, like in a minute we're gonna get into a couple other species in this genus, but for this specific genus, I would probably recommend a 125.
Yeah,
they're gonna get a little longer and bigger. And 125 would give them enough room to kind of swim around and graze. But yeah, I'd definitely say the minimum tank would probably be a 125.
Now, real quick, if you have children that are interested in the aquarium hobby and they love to read or they love to be read too, then I know that you and your family is going to enjoy my first ever children's book entitled Finn the Brave Blue Tang. Now, Finn the Brave Blue Tang is all about Finn and his adventure from a local fish store to his new home aquarium. And it just helps kids learn how to be brave and strong and help them to meet new friends, because meeting new friends is a beautiful thing. And if you want to pick up this book, you can buy it now over on Amazon.com. So if you shop Amazon, and I know you probably do, go ahead and pick this up, Finn the Brave Blue Tang. It's only $8.99. So go ahead, check it out, Amazon.com. Pick up Finn the Brave Blue Tang today. Now, what angelfish have you kept in the past or that you currently have?
So I've kept, let me think, like in my first reef tank, I had a Coral Beauty.
Okay.
And then before the hurricane, I had a pygmy angel in the Caribbean tank. I'm trying to think if I had any others that I know of off the top of my head. I think that's it for angelfish. Pretty sure that's it. I have had a French angelfish before. I've had a little French angelfish, yes.
Super cool.
Super cool. But I think that's it.
Nice. Yeah, so the only angelfish that I've ever kept in my aquarium is from this genus. It's the reef safe angelfish that we're going to jump into here. That is the Japanese mask swallowtail.
Those are pretty.
I had this guy years ago. When I first got him, he came in with Popeye.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you don't know what that is, that's where like the fish's eye will kind of swell up and like pop out. But it's a bacterial infection, so it can't just go away. You can treat it as well. I actually did not treat him with any medication. It just ended up going down and disappeared.
That's good.
Which was really cool. So, but yeah, this is let's see if I don't butcher the name, the Genacanthus semifasciatus.
Yeah.
Japanese masked swallowtail, and you can see the male fish down on the right.
So, quick question: is that one pictured yours? Is that the one you had, or?
Yes. So the top picture is the one that I had in the tank.
Nice. That's sweet.
And they are very peaceful.
Yeah.
One of my favorites out of the angels, just because that black and white striping behind the eye. Yeah. Then the yellow fin, and then his tail fin with the black and white. I just think it's pretty unique fish.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you had no issues with it picking at corals, right?
No issues at all. It was super peaceful. In my opinion, pretty easy to care for. As long as you just kept him well fed. I mean, I was feeding mysis shrimp and Formula 2 flakes to my tank the whole time. So
yeah, nice.
But for this fish, you want like 125 gallons or more.
Yep.
And this was at the time when we had a 210 gallon.
Okay. Nice.
So here's a quick video of him in the tank.
He's so cool. I love the genus. They get like the lyre tail on them. It's beautiful.
Yeah, super cool. Super unique. And if you're just listening to the audio only, now would be a good time, if you haven't already, to jump on the video podcast on YouTube, because we're taking a look at a video of the swallowtail swimming by some zoanthids. I had a pretty nice colony of frog spawn back there.
Yeah.
And that was an awesome tank. I missed that tank. It was 31 inches deep. And it sat on a 36-inch stand, so I had to get a ladder up there and climb into it. So it was a lot of work, but super cool. Here's another video of him.
Wow.
But yeah, his Popeye went down, and he was doing fine. And there's that pajama cardinal I was telling you about.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I just recently lost my pajama cardinal, like 8 years or so. That's him right there floating by.
It's crazy. 8 years. That's insane.
Yeah. Had him for a while.
Wow.
But yeah, Japanese swallowtail. If you're looking for a reef safe fish, this is one to go for.
Definitely.
I believe currently, though, they are probably way more pricey than they used to be.
Oh, yeah. We get them in sometimes at my work, and they're up there.
Yeah, what are we talking, like $200 or plus?
Plus, yeah, they've gone way up. That's insane.
So these guys, according to liveaquaria.com, the max size is around 8 inches.
Yeah.
So these guys can get big. So you need the big tank, like a 125 or larger. You need a lot of rocks and hiding places for it to feel comfortable. This fish comes from like the ocean waters, like South Japan, down to the Philippines.
Yep.
But yeah, the masked swallowtail angelfish, one of my favorites. And then a similar angelfish that I considered in the beginning to get is the Bellis angel, or also called the ornate angel. So it's part of the Gynaecanthus group as well. And you can see the male down in the bottom right there. They have the yellow. So pretty similar. If we go back to the masked swallowtail, the males have that yellow stripe, which is pretty unique. The Bellis has the yellow stripe and kind of blue on the tail fin. But the female there, completely different. Blue, white, and black.
Yeah, they're pretty. That's probably one of my favorite Gynaecanthus species. Bellis. I love the Bellis. That and the Wantanabes. We get the Wantanabes in sometimes. Those are really cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah, those are neat.
We actually have a couple pairs of those in right now. They're pretty sweet.
Super cool. But these guys, max size around 7 inches or so. But yeah, same deal with Bellis angels and swallowtail, 125 or larger. Again, keep plenty of rock in there. Give them good hiding space. Omnivores like all the angelfish, so keep them well fed, and they're not going to mess with your corals.
Yeah.
So, and they're super peaceful too. So you have peaceful tank mates like some clownfish, some cardinal fish, some tangs, yellow tangs, and stuff like that in there, and they're going to do just fine. Yeah. So both of those reef safe. Yeah, they're peaceful fish. They will do great in a larger system.
Definitely. I have one more for you guys that I kind of wanted to highlight. It's not really seen in the hobby anymore because Hawaii was kind of shut down. But it's super cool. Look at the male is the top right with the yellow head. All the males seem to have some yellow in them. It's kind of odd.
Yeah.
And the female on the bottom, which I think they're cool specifically because they're white. You know, you really don't see many like white fish, and I think it'd just be really cool to see these in an aquarium. Like we said, they're reef safe. They're in the Gynaecanthus genus. They're super cool. And I believe they have tank raised ones now, if I'm not mistaken. So,
okay,
your hands on these, it's going to cost you a lot, but they're really cool.
Yeah, do you think that's tank raised with biota, or
I can't. Palma Labs, maybe. I'd have to look.
Oh yeah, true. Could be Palma Labs. Yeah,
It's someone I can't remember, but I know. And I think Andrew Sandler has a pair of these at his
okay,
in one of his tanks. Yeah, they're super cool.
And then, what is the tank size? Because I know we're getting larger and larger. So
Yeah, so
tank
these
size.
ones still are in the Genecanthus, so I'd say 125
Okay, very
minimum.
cool. All right, so now the next we have like two more that we're talking about today, and these guys are definitely not reef safe.
Definitely not
Reef safe. So let's jump right into it. And they're amazing looking. They got some color on them. They're super cool.
Yeah, so this is the Emperor Angelfish. This is probably another staple fish in the industry. If you're going for like a fish only tank, this is one you gotta have. You know, this is literally probably the most common giant angelfish you're gonna see. They look beautiful as juveniles. I think the juveniles get more attention than the actual adults, but the adults are just as beautiful. They get that yellow in them, and they are just gorgeous, in my opinion. They're probably one of my favorite bigger angels. Just because of their color. And they get huge. They do get really big. So I'd probably recommend, I don't know, you probably have to have a 150 plus for these guys because they get huge. We've gotten them in my work before, and they've been almost a foot long. Like they're big. They can get big. So just keep that in mind when you're purchasing them. I say they're not reef safe, but I also know Julian Sprung has one in his aquarium in his reef.
Okay, really?
But he doesn't have like zoas or any of those random polyps in his aquarium, and he says that they pretty much mess with zoas specifically.
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, he has one in his tank, and it's beautiful, and it apparently doesn't bother his corals, or so he says. So
okay. Typically, you see these in fish only, or at least I've seen them in fish only tanks.
Yeah.
But
that's all
really
I would
cool. That's cool that Julian has it in his tank.
Definitely. So yeah, then we got that, and then we got another like common one you're gonna see like just in popularity, but they're actually becoming more and more like hard to get because you just don't see them. People collecting them as much, and that's gonna be the queen angelfish.
And these guys are a little more aggressive, right?
They can get aggressive. They can be aggressive, and these ones get big. They get a foot plus. Like I've seen giant ones, so just keep that in mind. I'd say minimum 150 to 200 minimum. Like they get big. You can keep them in a smaller tank, like when they're juveniles and they're growing out, but they get big. So when you purchase this, just keep in mind that you're going to have a big tank. But yeah, not reef safe. They pick at sponges and corals. You got to keep that in mind. But if you have a nice big fish only tank, these are a beautiful fish to add. You know, they get those nice long streamers, and they got some beautiful coloration.
Yeah, absolutely. That thing is stunning looking.
I've seen some like down in the Keys that like a foot plus, like big, and they swim in pairs most of the time. They're probably one of the most beautiful angelfish in the Caribbean by far that I've actually like seen with my own eyes. They're just it's majestic just seeing them swim through the water. It's beautiful.
So with all these different kinds of angelfish, are there like angelfish police out there like there are with tang police? Because you mentioned keeping the juvenile in a smaller tank. I know some people are like, you definitely shouldn't do that. But I mean,
like in my opinion, I don't know. I don't necessarily like if you have intentions of getting a bigger tank and you're like you have it all planned out, or even if you have the bigger tank and you're just keeping it in a smaller tank to kind of grow it out and beef it up before you put it in a tank, I'm totally cool with that. Yeah. But if you're getting a yellow tang or even like any type of tang or angelfish and you have a little biocube and you're not planning on getting a tank anytime soon, that's not right in my opinion.
Right.
You gotta understand these fish are quite literally out on the reefs grazing like tangs, like specifically in angels. Like they swim constantly and they're going to be constantly feeding on the rocks and coral and algae all throughout the reef. So they're constantly on the move. They're constantly eating. So you got to just keep that in mind. And if you're not able to acquire that and like take care of those requirements, then I would recommend like staying away from these until you get a bigger aquarium. Like even with the juvenile thing, like just stay away from it. If they're gonna get big and you know that, like just stay away from them. Just don't mess with it. Because I mean, there's plenty of angelfish and stuff that actually stay relatively small, like the pygmies we talked about. And even with tanks, you know, there's tanks that don't get small, like you know, like your flame pentamini tanks and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, just keep that in mind. But if you're getting a fish that can get big, and you're not planning on getting a bigger tank, just don't get that fish. Like, just don't do it. It's kind of messed up in my opinion.
Yeah, 100% agree with that for sure. Like back when I had a 75-gallon tank, I knew I was going to upgrade to the 210 gallon, or at least a larger tank. I didn't know it would be 200 gallons at the time. So I had a yellow tank for a little bit, and he got his home upgraded.
Nice.
So, but super cool. Now, it wouldn't be a podcast about angelfish if we didn't throw in one of the most expensive angelfish out there. And let me see if I can pull up the slide. And of course, I'm talking about the peppermint angelfish.
Nice.
Now, this is a smaller angelfish, and he comes from depths of like 300 to 400 feet down. But so this guy, did I already say the price? $30,000.
Yeah, that's insane.
For this guy when they first came in, and they're still up there because there's not that many in captivity right now.
No, not at all. And I believe the diver that was actually collecting these passed away.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was looking at an article today. I was trying to see when this article was put together. But if you want, I can link to it in our show notes and description below. But it's on Live Aquaria, and it's talking about the Holy Grail angelfish, the peppermint angelfish.
Yep.
And let's see, it was discovered by Charles Boyle, and it says that it was found at 300 to 400 feet. And I mean, you going down that deep in the ocean, you have to be highly skilled and trained, because
absolutely,
once you get to that depth, like I've never scuba dived personally, but I know like with the regulator, or I mean, however you get down to that depth, you have to, you're limited on time. I mean, because your oxygen tank is only so much. So I mean, just to even find this fish and catch it and then bring it back up, because then there's the whole thing with like the pressure, right? The water pressure, bringing it up slowly so it's not damaged or die once you catch the fish.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's approximately an inch and a half. So the max length, it says less than 3 inches. So you're talking about a little tiny fish.
Small. Yeah.
300 feet. You don't have much sunlight at that depth.
Crazy.
Yeah. But super cool. It was captured, let's see, Kevin Cohen, that's who I guess monitored and kept this fish, but I think they're trying to have it breed, or I don't know if they have or haven't yet. But yeah, I haven't read through the entire article, but if you want to do that, I will link that in the description below. Super unique fish.
Absolutely.
But yeah, what do you think about that? When I saw it, I was like, oh man, that would be such a cool fish. And then I read that it was $30,000. I'm like, oh well.
Those are so cool. If I had the money, I'd totally get one. But yeah, those are gorgeous fish.
Really? So, man, I just did a video about expensive corals and how much it costs. And so $30,000. If you have $30,000,
I wish.
done. All right, let me throw. I want to share. Let me see if I can share my screen right here. I'll share the article too up here because they got some pretty cool pictures of the angelfish. Talking about how they were conditioning it, acclimating it. Gives a little background on the fish. But yeah, so if you're listening only, this fish is like a peppermint candy, red and white striped. Super cool. Let's see if I can go full
so
screen
beautiful.
It's just an amazing fish. And the fact that it doesn't get very big, like, man, that'd be super cool. I want to say, was it the Waikiki Aquarium in Hawaii that had them?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. So beautiful.
Yeah, super cool fish. So if those ever become more widely available, I think that'd be super cool.
Definitely.
So it goes over the feeding, the diet. Stunning fish. So closing remarks, closing notes. Overall takeaway from keeping angelfish. Some that you would personally recommend.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think there's an angelfish for everyone, in my opinion. You know, there's a bunch of different genuses and species and sizes that you can kind of go with. And I mean, if you got a smaller tank, you know, maybe aim for the pygmies if you're looking to get an angelfish. Or if you have a moderate sized tank, you know, start looking towards like your dwarfs, like your like coral beauties, your lemon peel, your flame angels. You got a giant tank and it's fish only, or even if you wanted to attempt stuff with corals, look into the emperors and the regal angels, the queens, all that sort of stuff. I mean, there's literally an angelfish type for everyone, in my opinion. If you're looking to get into angelfish, there's something for everyone.
Super cool. And there's plenty of other angelfish that we did not talk about on today's episode.
Thousands, literally.
Yes, thousands. And some that are super popular, like the flaming angel.
Yep.
So if you guys enjoyed this episode, let us know in the comments below. Let us know what angelfish you love the best from this episode. And if you guys enjoyed it, we'll make a part 2 and we'll talk about even more angelfish in a future podcast episode. But as always, thank you so much for watching, liking, and subscribing to the Coral Reef Talk podcast. And we'll catch you in the next one.
See ya.